former Navy SEAL who trained with Israeli Special Forces, and Aaron Cohen, an Israeli Special Ops veteran. Welcome to both of you. Kind of picking up where Jeff left off there, Aaron. It really is. I mean, in the north and Hezbollah, it's been back and forth since this war began, but it's getting heavier. People are getting killed on both sides, and this is really threatening to open up a second front.
Yeah, it's certainly threatening to open up a second front, Trace. Israel has been going back and forth with Hezbollah for the last 35 days. Drone attacks. Israel is aggressively taking out pockets of Hezbollah as we speak. They've been going on, like I said, for the last several weeks. Hezbollah is continuously trying to infiltrate through the Syrian border. The reason why is because it's a little more open, it's a little more guerrilla style, it's less dense, there's a little more cover for them in that mountainous region. But Israel's responding, and they're responding with fervor. Like I've mentioned, Israel has a lot of experience with the Northern Front, and they're aggressively using those F-15s and those JTACs, or those joint terminal attack controllers to pinpoint those locations and systematically keep neutralizing those terrorists. So
yeah.
Israel's working pretty quick up there.
Meantime, in Gaza, Cameron, you have IDF troops are at the gates of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza. You've got 650 patrons inside, says Hamas. Israel says the hospital is a Hamas headquarters. What's the response down there? How do you approach this?
It's a very difficult scenario, no doubt. Israel has to ensure that they're keeping good records and showing public display of all the efforts that they're using with these facilities. As they make entry into these buildings, as they collect data and intelligence, they need to, again, photograph, be very thorough and diligent, and then expose that to the world to really show and showcase the difference in the variation between the two forces here as they combat for Gaza.
Mostly agree on that, Aaron? You think?
I do. You know, the SEALs units like mine in Israel, you know, there's a lot of experience with urban warfare. Israel has, as I've mentioned to you before, a really incredibly brilliant room-clearing apparatus. What Israel's doing right now is they're starting to really deploy their special operations forces into those buildings. One, it reduces collateral damage. It's very effective with not engaging in and around those civilians by just, you know, coming in with those missile strikes. The other thing is that it's what's called limited penetration room clearing. It allows the Israeli Special Operations Forces to clear about 98% of those rooms from outside the threshold, which is really, really smart because there's a lot of booby traps and there's a lot of wires. This is the same stuff I've been teaching to law enforcement for 20 years. So it's very effective. But at the end of the day, Israel's got to get into those nooks and crannies. They've got to open up those doorways. They've got to open up those rooms to be able to sterilize those areas so that they can continue to press into those tunnels where combat and action are happening as we speak, particularly with the Israeli elite dog unit. They're running into those tunnels, Trace.
Meantime, you have Reuters that is now reporting that Hamas armed wing is floating the idea of releasing 70 hostages, Cameron, for a 5-day ceasefire. Would you buy it?
I wouldn't. Again, their evidence of their past behavior indicates something very different. I think that Israel has taken great strides to try to pursue some form of peace in the region for time and time again. But peace was broken, again, with the outbreak of this conflict. So Hamas has a lot of work to do. Ultimately, the responsibility and the burden is upon them to show the international community that they're willing to pursue a different path other than this violence. So with Israel and as it pertains to Hamas, their rhetoric shows something very, very different. I mean, we've seen this in other parts of the world as well, where they placate to, oh, let's have a ceasefire, let's have a cessation of hostilities, and we'll pursue some kind of negotiation, and it backfires. So I think Israel needs to keep the pressure on, unfortunately.
Would you go into that? Would you deal with it? I got about 20 seconds.
I agree with that 100%. So Israel's using what's called the sir lachatz in Hebrew, and translated that means a pressure cooker. And so there can't be any break in the operational rhythm. There can't be any break in that combat rhythm. But what's happening right now is that Israel is systematically destroying Hamas to the point where they have to flee to the south under the cover of those mass exoduses that Israel is opening up for those civilians. But that pressure cooker forces those terrorists into the corner of those structures. They can't get out. And so at this point right now, they're getting desperate. They're pumping all that media out there to try and exploit trying to exploit all those images, those terrible images, which half of them are fake, and they're just pumping out all those imagery. And at the end of the day, Hamas is getting crushed, and that's why they're leaning into
first time.
Yeah,
they're looking for a deal. They're looking. First time we're seeing they're floating these deals, which we have not seen before.
They're feeling that pressure, Trace. They're feeling it.
Aaron, Cameron, thank you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.